Top 1. Ultrasonic cement. In the early 1900s, engineers and material scientists began experimenting with ultrasonic cement, a concept aimed at dramatically accelerating the hardening process of concrete by applying high-frequency sound waves to freshly poured mixtures. They discovered that vibrations could influence the alignment of cement particles, promote rapid hydration, and reduce setting time from days or hours to mere minutes. Early laboratory demonstrations reportedly produced slabs and structural components ready for handling almost immediately after treatment. Such technology promised to transform construction, allowing for faster infrastructure development, reduced labor costs, and emergency repairs in disaster zones. Despite its potential, large-scale application faced challenges. Controlling vibration intensity over wide surfaces proved difficult, and improper calibration could lead to cracks, weak bonding, or uneven curing. Patents and experimental reports indicate that several firms attempted to implement ultrasonic treatments in factories and building sites, but cost, technical complexity, and safety concerns limited adoption. Governments and contractors occasionally funded trials for bridges, industrial floors, and military bunkers, but consistent replication remained elusive. Documentation shows interest persisted for decades. Yet the knowledge never entered mainstream construction practices, and many original devices were dismantled or lost. Whether the limited spread was due to technical hurdles or commercial resistance is unclear. Today, ultrasonic cement remains a largely historical curiosity, cited in engineering texts as an early attempt at controlled material manipulation, illustrating how even seemingly practical innovations can fade without wide-scale support. Top 2. Telephonoscope. In the 1870s and 1880s, several Victorian inventors conceptualized a device known as the telephonoscope, a theoretical system designed to transmit live images and sound over long distances. Drawing on emerging telegraph and telephone technology, the device combined optical lenses, light modulation techniques, and mechanical scanning mechanisms to project moving images alongside audio signals. Early descriptions appeared in journals and patent filings, suggesting a future in which people could see and hear one another from different cities, essentially predicting modern video calling. Some inventors even proposed public demonstration models using reflected light beams, mirrors, and rotating drums, though none achieved fully operational prototypes. The concept captured public imagination, appearing in science fiction stories and lectures. But technical constraints of the era, limited electrical power, insufficient light intensity, and primitive imaging materials prevented realization. Funding and support were sporadic, and as electrical engineers focused on more practical telephone and lighting applications, the telephonoscope faded from experimental pursuit. Original sketches, letters, and descriptions remain archived in libraries, offering glimpses into the inventive thinking of the period. Historians debate whether the device's failure was due to technical impossibility or premature ambition. Today, the telephonoscope stands as a visionary but unrealized precursor to television and video conferencing. Top 3. Pogue carburetor. In the 1930s, Canadian inventor Charles Nelson Pogue developed a carburetor design that he claimed could deliver fuel efficiency exceeding 200 miles per gallon. Unlike conventional carburetors that mix liquid gasoline with incoming air, Pogue's system focused on vaporization before combustion. The design used heated chambers and extended pathways to ensure gasoline fully transitioned into vapor form prior to entering the engine cylinders. In theory, vaporized fuel would burn more completely than atomized liquid droplets, reducing waste and increasing mileage. Demonstrations reportedly showed dramatically improved fuel consumption under controlled conditions. At the time, internal combustion engines were relatively inefficient, and fuel distribution inside cylinders was uneven. A system that ensured near-total vaporization could significantly reduce unburned hydrocarbons and improve thermal efficiency. Scalable, such efficiency gains would have disrupted fuel demand and reshaped automotive operating costs. Interest grew, patents were filed, and reports circulated in newspapers describing extraordinary mileage figures. However, independent large-scale verification never materialized. Engineers later argued that extreme mileage claims conflicted with the thermodynamic limits of gasoline's energy density. Questions arose about test conditions, vehicle modifications, and measurement accuracy. Despite publicity, the carburetor was never adopted by major manufacturers. Production licensing attempts stalled, and the invention faded from mainstream automotive development. Some suggest oil or automotive interests discourage adoption, while others attribute its disappearance to technical impracticality and overstated performance claims. No industrial rollout occurred, and no commercial vehicles incorporated the design at scale. The Pogue carburetor remains documented through patents and archive reports, but without verified replication under standardized testing. Its unresolved status persists because the core question was never conclusively settled in public. Whether the invention was fundamentally constrained by physics, limited by engineering feasibility, or simply overestimated in early demonstrations. Top 4. Flying platform. In the 1950s, the U.S. military began experimenting with personal flying platforms, compact hovercraft designed to lift a single soldier off the ground for short-range mobility. Early prototypes were essentially circular platforms equipped with small gas turbines or ducted fans capable of vertical lift. Test pilots demonstrated controlled hovering, limited forward motion, and the ability to maneuver over obstacles at low altitudes. The goal was to create a reconnaissance or rapid deployment device that could transport soldiers across difficult terrain without relying on vehicles or traditional aircraft. Engineers faced immense challenges. Stability, fuel efficiency, and pilot safety were major hurdles, as even minor imbalance could result in catastrophic failure. Reports from military trials indicate some platforms achieved brief, successful flights, but accidents and crashes were frequent. The technology promised tactical advantages in specific scenarios, potentially reshaping infantry operations, urban combat, and emergency response. However, funding and interest fluctuated, and the platforms never moved beyond experimental phases. Designs were classified, and much of the documentation was restricted or destroyed, leaving only sketches, patents, and anecdotal accounts. While the concept inspired later personal flight devices and hoverboards, no fully operational military version entered production. The flying platform remains a fascinating glimpse into mid-20th century attempts to engineer human-scale vertical mobility, demonstrating both the ingenuity of experimental aviation and the limitations of contemporary technology. Its story raises questions about what other airborne innovations were explored but never fully realized, leaving a legacy of unfulfilled potential in personal flight. Top 5. Hatfield Rainmaker. In 1916, during a prolonged drought in Southern California, a man named Charles Hatfield offered his services to local municipalities, claiming he could induce rain using a secret chemical formula. Hatfield's methods reportedly involved heating large quantities of evaporative chemicals in towering evaporators and releasing them into the atmosphere. According to contemporary reports, shortly after his operations began, heavy rainfall occurred, flooding some areas while replenishing reservoirs elsewhere. Hatfield's techniques were never scientifically verified, and skeptics argued that rain events coinciding with his experiments were coincidental, influenced by natural weather patterns. Nevertheless, local officials paid him, intrigued by his promise to solve water shortages. Some observers suggested that Hatfield had discovered a primitive form of cloud seeding or atmospheric nucleation, while others dismissed him as a charlatan exploiting desperate communities. Legal disputes arose when flooding caused property damage, prompting questions about liability and the efficacy of his methods. Despite controversy, Hatfield continued offering his rainmaking services for several years, attracting attention from newspapers and curious scientists. Modern climatologists generally regard his work as anecdotal, but it remains an early example of human attempts to manipulate weather through chemical and mechanical means. Hatfield's experiments illustrate how inventive ideas at the intersection of chemistry, engineering, and environmental control can provoke fascination, debate, and unintended consequences, leaving a legacy of mystery about the true potential of early weather modification. Top 6. Zinc air battery. In the modern era, engineers and chemists have developed zinc air batteries, a type of electrochemical cell that uses oxygen from the air as a reactant at the cathode combined with zinc at the anode to generate electricity. Unlike traditional lead-acid or lithium-ion batteries, Zinc air cells can achieve significantly higher energy density, often cited as up to 10 times greater than lead-acid equivalents. The system relies on the controlled reaction of zinc with oxygen, producing electrical current while forming zinc oxide as a byproduct. Early prototypes were bulky and sensitive to environmental factors such as humidity and air composition, but continued research improved reliability and safety. Applications range from hearing aids and medical devices to large-scale energy storage, potentially providing a sustainable alternative to lithium-based systems in certain contexts. Despite these advantages, commercialization has faced hurdles. Rechargeability is limited, and electrolyte management requires careful control to prevent degradation. Manufacturing complexities and cost considerations also slow widespread adoption. Government and private research labs continue experimenting with advanced materials, catalytic additives, and air electrode designs to overcome these limitations. Zinc air technology remains a promising yet underutilized energy solution. The story of zinc air batteries underscores a recurring theme in technology. Breakthrough concepts can remain constrained by practical, economic, and engineering barriers even after proof of concept success. Top 7 Genapax Water Car. In 2008, Genapax, a Japanese company, announced a prototype car that purportedly ran on water, sparking global curiosity and skepticism. The vehicle reportedly used a water-powered fuel system, where an onboard device split water into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis, feeding the gases into the engine to create combustion. Early demonstrations suggested the car could travel short distances without traditional gasoline, claiming near-zero emissions and extreme fuel efficiency. If functional at scale, the invention would have challenged the global petroleum industry, reduced urban pollution, and transformed automotive technology. Engineers and journalists rushed to verify the claims, but results were inconclusive. Some tests indicated extremely limited range, while others suggested external power inputs may have been used. Japanese authorities and company representatives avoided full independent testing, and production plans were never confirmed. Interest peaked in media coverage, raising questions about whether the system was genuinely revolutionary or an overhyped prototype. The project quietly faded with no vehicles commercially available, leaving only patents, press releases, and fragmented reports. Its story illustrates how even potentially transformative inventions can vanish into obscurity, leaving unanswered questions about what was possible versus what was claimed. Top 8 Atomic Energy Lab. In 1950, the A.C. Gilbert Company released the Atomic Energy Lab, a radioactive chemistry kit aimed at educating children about nuclear science. The set included uranium, thorium, and other mildly radioactive substances along with Geiger counters, scintillation screens, and apparatus for simple experiments demonstrating radioactivity, decay, and radiation measurement. Advertisements portrayed it as an exciting way for young scientists to explore the emerging field of atomic energy at home. At the time, nuclear technology was in the public spotlight, with the Manhattan Project recently concluded in atomic energy promising transformative power for industry and medicine. The kit allowed children to perform experiments that, in a lab setting, would typically be restricted to trained professionals. However, concerns about safety, radiation exposure, and proper supervision quickly emerged. While the radioactivity levels were low, exposure posed potential health risks, and the kit was eventually discontinued. Collectors today prize surviving examples as artifacts of mid-20th century fascination with science in the atomic age. The Atomic Energy Lab reflects both the optimism and naivety of its era, showcasing how technological enthusiasm can outpace safety considerations. Its existence also illustrates the public perception of nuclear energy as accessible, almost magical, long before regulation and understanding of radiation hazards fully developed. Despite being a toy, it contributed to early scientific curiosity for a generation of future engineers, chemists, and physicists, while remaining a striking example of how powerful concepts were once simplified for the general public, leaving modern observers to wonder what lessons might have been learned or risks taken by children experimenting with radioactivity at home. Top 9 Sky Car. In 1989, Canadian engineer Paul Mahler unveiled his vision of personal flight, the Sky Car, a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle designed to function as a flying car. Using ducted fans and lightweight composite materials, the Sky Car aimed to combine the convenience of automobiles with the freedom of flight. Early prototypes demonstrated brief lifts and controlled hovers, inspiring both media attention and public fascination with the prospect of individual airborne transport. The vehicle's design relied on high-thrust engines, advanced avionics, and precise aerodynamic calculations, all intended to allow vertical ascent, stable forward flight, and safe landing on minimal space. Despite decades of testing and numerous prototypes, the Sky Car faced enormous technical and regulatory challenges. Engine reliability, fuel efficiency, noise, and pilot training proved significant obstacles. Financial and bureaucratic hurdles prevented full commercialization, and widespread deployment never materialized. Mahler persisted, refining designs and seeking investment. While enthusiasts and skeptics debated the practicality of flying cars in urban environments, today the Sky Car remains an iconic symbol of personal aviation ambition, illustrating both the potential and limitations of translating science fiction into reality. Its story raises enduring questions about whether technology will ever allow widespread airborne personal vehicles, or if such dreams will remain prototypes hovering forever on the edge of possibility. Top 10. Phoebus Cartel. In 1924 in Geneva, Switzerland, representatives from the world's largest light bulb manufacturers gathered behind closed doors. General Electric, Osram, Philips, and Compagnie des Lampes formed what became known as the Phoebus Cartel. Officially, the agreement focused on standardization and market stability. Internally, documents revealed a different objective: limit the average lifespan of light bulbs to 1,000 hours. At the time, longer-lasting bulbs already existed, some capable of burning for 2,500 hours or more. A bulb installed in California in 1901 was still operating decades later, proving extended durability was technically possible. Longevity, however, reduced repeat purchases. The cartel introduced strict international testing procedures, and manufacturers whose bulbs exceeded the 1,000-hour target were fined. Performance shifted from maximum durability to controlled lifespan. Internal reports tracked burn times across factories, and engineers adjusted filament thickness and gas mixtures to ensure predictable failure. The reduction in lifespan was not an accidental decline in quality, but a coordinated recalibration of output to stabilize revenue. Sales volumes increased because replacement cycles became shorter and standardized across markets. Consumers were unaware that durability had been intentionally capped. The agreement functioned through monitoring committees and shared data until geopolitical tensions and World War II disrupted its structure. Although the formal cartel dissolved, the operational logic endured. The concept that products could be deliberately designed with a limited functional life became embedded in industrial planning. The Phoebus cartel did not disappear into myth. Surviving documents confirm coordinated lifespan enforcement. Its long-term implication was structural. It normalized planned obsolescence as a business strategy, shifting innovation away from permanence and toward managed consumption cycles that continue to influence manufacturing decisions today. Top 11. Ismail. In the early 2000s, the company DigiSense introduced a device called iSmell, designed to transmit digital scents over the internet. The system combined a computer interface with a cartridge-based scent delivery module capable of releasing small quantities of chemical compounds on demand. Users could receive emails, browse websites, or play games and experience corresponding smells through preloaded aroma cartridges. The technology relied on encoding scent profiles into data signals, which the device then interpreted to reproduce specific odors. Early demonstrations included coffee, roses, and baked goods, producing reactions of fascination and disbelief from journalists and tech enthusiasts. Potential applications range from e-commerce and advertising to virtual reality and online education, offering multi-sensory experiences that went far beyond traditional digital content. Despite the novelty, the product faced significant hurdles: cartridge costs, limited scent variety, chemical safety concerns, and inconsistent odor reproduction. The hardware never achieved mass market adoption, and public demonstrations gradually ceased. DigiSense eventually shut down, leaving the iSmell device as a curious footnote in the history of digital innovation. The concept sparked discussions about multisensory computing and the future of human-computer interaction. Yet the original technology remains largely inaccessible. Whether it failed due to technical limitations, poor market timing, or lack of investment, iSmell demonstrates that even seemingly futuristic inventions can disappear quickly, leaving behind only patents, press releases, and the tantalizing idea that digital experiences could one day extend far beyond sight and sound. Top 12. Krumlov. During World War II, Nazi Germany developed a highly unusual firearm attachment known as the Krumlauf, a curved barrel designed to allow rifles, particularly the Sturmgewehr 44, to fire around corners or from concealed positions. The barrel featured a 30° or 45-degree bend near the muzzle combined with an optical sighting system that permitted soldiers to aim without direct exposure. Engineers faced enormous challenges. Bullets often shattered inside the curved section due to extreme stress and friction, while rifling wear reduced accuracy and lifespan. Early prototypes reportedly achieved limited success in close-quarters combat, allowing troops to engage enemies from windows, corners, or trenches without exposing themselves to direct fire. Testing revealed that heat buildup, material fatigue, and metal deformation limited the barrel's operational life to only a few hundred rounds, making sustained combat use impractical. Despite its ingenuity, the Krumlauf was never widely deployed. Few surviving examples exist today, mostly in military museums, offering rare insight into experimental weaponry during the war. The concept influenced tactical thinking about concealed firing and weapon ergonomics, and inspired post-war studies of curved barrel mechanisms in training simulations. The Krumlauf demonstrates how engineers push the limits of conventional firearms under wartime pressures, exploring ideas that combine mechanical innovation with tactical necessity. Its partially successful development highlights both the creativity and practical constraints of secretive military projects, leaving modern historians to ponder how many other unusual inventions were tested but ultimately abandoned during the conflict, never fully realizing their potential. If these stories of lost technology and forgotten ingenuity change the way you look at the history of innovation, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are unearthing the history they tried to bury. Let's plant the seeds for the future. The next treasure trove of hidden knowledge will open soon.